The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome back to our 13th InnTouch Forum. This is Kristen Intris, again, one of the principals here at InnLink, and I am very excited to bring to you our Internet specialist here at InnLink. Michelle Lamberson has been with us for over 7 years, and she's just a wealth of knowledge. So I look forward to the fact that she's going to be able to share her insights and also put a voice to the person that you can call when you need help and information on kind of maneuvering these OTAs. Please do not hesitate to throw in any questions from Michelle. We will look at those at the very end of our InnTouch forum and let Michelle kind of speak to your questions and thoughts. So now I'm going to turn over to Michelle, and welcome.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for everyone for joining us today. I'd like to share some information with you about the ever-changing world of the online travel sites. The OTAs, also referred to as the online travel agents, have been a rapidly changing world, especially in the past year. I work with the online travel websites every day in that hope that sharing some of the information and changes that I see with you can help you become more successful with the online travel sites. Let's take a quick look at the agenda and note some key items that I'm going to review with you today. We're going to do a quick overview of the OTAs to include definition and comparisons of the top players in the industry. I'm also going to discuss the changes that we have seen in the past 6 months and that are currently going on at some of the websites. I'm going to go over how data changes get from InnLink to the OTAs. We'll review some of the new trends that we see emerging on the various websites, and finally we'll do a quick summary of everything that I have discussed. Let's start with this OTA interview to make sure that we are all defining the OTAs the same way. There are multiple names sometimes used for an OTA, so when I mention OTA today, I'm referring to any website whose main function is to book reservation. The OTAs pull data and booking information from one of 4 global distribution systems: Sabre, Amadeus, WorldSpan, and Galileo, which is also known as Apollo. Every now and then you'll hear other names used for booking information, which are usually more specific to an ADS, which is referred to as an OTA supported solely by Pegasus. Another term you may hear is portals. Portals include search engines that pull information from other sources to book reservations. However, most of what I'll discuss with you today is not going to apply to portals. So let's now take a look at how the growth in the OTAs has changed over the past several years. The online travel channels really developed in the early 2000s and it experienced an explosive growth shortly after 9/11. The growth was greater than 20% per year through 2006. Growth still continues today, though it has slowed down to 14% in 2008 and is expected to slow a bit more in 2009. But let's keep in mind that the gross annual bookings is on the rise. So with this being said, let me explain the 2 main sources of internet bookings. Number 1 being the OTAs, or the online travel agents, and 2 being your own branded hotel website that should have a good booking engine. In fact, 2007 was the first year that the hotel websites booked more reservations than the OTAs. Even in today's economy, while OTA growth is slowing, the total number of online bookings are growing because more and more hotels are improving their ability to take reservations on their own websites. So now we're going to move on to review the website rankings. The largest OTAs in many cases are household names. We commonly hear these names on the TV and in consumer advertising. When we look at the top 10 travel sites for 2008, we see names like Expedia, Orbitz, and Travelocity, which are common OTAs that most everyone recognizes. The other notable OTA name in the top 10 is Priceline. 3 top travel sites are airline brands: Southwest, American Airlines, and Delta. Though the hotel brand site and an independent website are becoming more and more important in consumer buying, the only hotel brand we see at this time in the top 10 is Hilton, and as recently as a year ago, hotel brands were not in the top 10. The other very interesting appearance on this list is Yahoo Travel at number 5. Yahoo is a consolidator site that pulls their data from other OTAs. Then there's TripAdvisor at number 6. TripAdvisor was at one time a review site, but has recently started pulling information from OTAs and is now allowing guests to book. So let's move on and take a look at the role of OTAs before a consumer gets to the buying process. Looking at the picture, it starts with the inspiration to travel and the customer's need for guidance. The traveler starts to research travel content sites. They're searching for the one hotel that meets all their travel needs. On average, more than 70% of all travelers today consult between 3 and 4 sources of information, and almost all online researchers use the OTAs and or a search engine as a source for this information. During the early stages of the buying process, the customer may leave the OTAs and take a further look at a specific hotel website. So let's think of it this way. OTAs spend billions of dollars each year advertising your property. This is money that does not come out of your pocket. The leisure traveler who are looking for new locations are most likely to research an OTA first. The visibility that the OTAs can provide only further promotes your property. So our hotel perception is sometimes that consumers only visit the OTA to book, but in reality, there's a lot of research done first. At the Expedia conference in 2008, Expedia said that for every 2 reservations made on their site, at least 1 was made elsewhere from research that is completed on the OTA. Based on the research, we must consider the OTAs as a marketing channel as well as a booking channel. 74% of all hotel brokers research their destination on the internet, and OTAs are one of the resources commonly used to find out about options in a new location. 54% of the hotel reservations are made on the internet, and currently about half of those are made on the OTAs and about half are made on the hotel websites. When displayed on an OTA, it is important to have a website with good booking engine capabilities. If this isn't in place, some of your marketing presence on the OTAs is wasted. So let me give you an example. If 1 month you get 5 OTA reservations but you don't have a website with good booking capabilities, you could potentially lose 2 to 3 bookings. Following through the cycle, an OTA present can be a win-win situation. So that's the overview of the OTAs. Now let's discuss the consolidation that's happening in the OTAs.
This is what I love, is this is Michelle's expertise. She lives here every day. So Michelle, tell us some insights about Expedia. What would be your advice in that area?
Well, I find Expedia to be one of the most independent websites, and at times kind of hard to work with. I do find that they provide the most detailed listing.
They also have opaque programs.
They do have an opaque program. Hotwire is an opaque website. It does require a separate agreement.
What does opaque mean?
Opaque means consumers can bid on rooms, but they don't see the name of the property until the transaction is complete.
Okay. What about Orbitz? Tell me a little bit about why I'd want to be on Orbitz, or what's special about Orbitz.
Well, I do find Orbitz is one of the easier ones to work with, but they have recently started enforcing merchant participation. Although a merchant agreement with Orbitz will give a property automatic placement on cheaptickets.com.
And are they considered more of the international market? I look at some of the names that are under there, and they tend to be much more international. Is that?
Orbitz has started expanding their international presence with the acquisition of ebookers.com, Hotel Club, Rates to Go, and Away.com.
Good. Well, next is Travelocity. So why would I want to be on Travelocity as a consumer if I had to choose one of these?
Well, Travelocity is a Sabre partner, and Sabre is the largest U.S.-focused GDS system. They're also partnered with lastminute.com, which only allows the customer to book 2 weeks in advance for that last-minute traveler.
Okay. So I'm looking at Sabre, and is that, so if you were to tell me one way or the other, is this is where I I show up on all those little funky websites.
You do show up on all those funky websites. You may find yourself out there and you have no idea how you got onto one of those websites, and the information was probably provided through Sabre, through World Choice Travel, which is another partner.
Good. Well, then there's Priceline, and I know we all love the person that talks to us with Priceline, but tell me a little bit about Priceline.
Priceline is one of the only ones to flow directly through Pegasus, which does have the lower GDS fee of only 66 cents.
Versus the $5.95.
Right, versus the $5.95 GDS fee. Priceline, while they do take a little bit longer to process merchant listings, so you have to kind of be patient once we get those contracts submitted, but once they're on, the properties are on, and they also have a preferred listing on travelweb.com.
So tell me here, because we went back to opaques, and I think about William Shatner saying, put in my bid, and that's opaque. Is that the only way I can be on Priceline?
No. Priceline is known for their opaque listings with the Name Your Own price program, but you can have just a standard merchant participation. So as we can see, while there are differences in how the top 4 OTAs work, they can all have a major impact on marketing your hotel. Most of you know which site generates the most business, so go out there, take a look at how your hotel's listed. If you have specific questions, you can contact me or your revenue manager at InnLink, and we'll discuss some ways that we can help better promote your location. One of the most visible changes to our hotels has been the focus that OTAs are putting on merchant model properties over retail properties that do not have an agreement with them. As the number of merchant properties expands, retail properties get pushed further down the list on the sites, reducing their chance of getting noticed by consumers. In 2008, as InnLink was informed by Orbitz and Priceline that they were removing retail properties, we did customize emails that many of you may have received identifying the change in the impact to your listing and revenue. We are seeing a similar focus on merchant at Travelocity right now. They have been testing the removal of retail properties by markets. As the tests are completed, we're seeing that retail properties are being removed from the listing. We are currently working with Travelocity to identify impacted properties, so watch for more email information if you are not already a Travelocity merchant participant. At this time, Expedia is the only one of the big 4 that is not requiring merchant participation to display, even though there are significant differences in a merchant and retail display on Expedia. And while we're talking about merchant focus at the OTAs, let's look at what that means to a hotel's net revenue. Net or merchant programs require a hotel to give the OTA a 25 to 30% discount on which the OTA will mark back up to your rack rate. In this example, we compare a 25% merchant model sale to a 15% AARP discount. The money the OTA makes is significantly higher on the $75 merchant rate because the OTA collects your $8.75 discount from the consumer. GDS fees are the same on both examples. The big difference is that there are no travel agent commissions charged on the merchant model, which mostly offsets the discount you provided the OTA and makes the net revenue within $1 of the AARP rate. Your numbers will vary somewhat, but this gives you a good model overview of how your rates may work. In a highly saturated market, or when your hotel is past page 2 on a display, the merchant program makes sense. If you'd like to compare your rates in this model, you can contact your revenue manager. So to summarize some of the key benefits merchant participation will give you, it will give you a higher listing. While a higher saturated market, your participation may not put you on page 1 or 2, but it will place you above the retail locations. The price difference between a standard discount and a merchant agreement only varies slightly, And best of all, note that a merchant reservation is a guaranteed payment regardless of whether the guest shows up or not, because the OTA is collecting the money up front for you. And the final benefit of being in a merchant program with the OTA is that they display you hired and with indicators that promote your pricing on their site. So let's take a look at the Expedia special rate display for the Radisson Hotel in San Antonio. As you can see in the upper left-hand corner, there is a hotel exterior image displayed. With a retail listing, you will not have this. The Expedia special rate tag is also displayed just above the rates and room types. And in the upper right-hand corner, you can see the average lower rate is displayed. With the price line display for the Club Hotel Inn and Suites Nashville location, again you can see that the fee chop tag is listed underneath, and the hotel does have an exterior image. With the Orbitz display for the Homegate Studios and Suites, you see the low price guarantee tag is listed underneath the select button and next to the rate, and again a hotel exterior is displayed. And finally, with Travelocity, Travelocity marks your listing with the goodbye tag. All of these tags will promote a good value to the customer, further promoting your hotel. So let's move on to how information gets updated on the travel sites. As an InnLink customer, your rates and availability are displayed in real time on the OTAs. Again, while your rates and availability are updated immediately, other information including property descriptive text and images take a varied amount of time depending upon which site you are looking at. Descriptive data and images must go through a process of distribution through Pegasus and the GDSs that are picked up by the various sites and update at their own schedule. Expedia and Orbit's changes will usually show up in about 7 to 10 business days. Merchant participation requests for Orbit's are typically processed within 7 to 10 days, and at Expedia within 2 to 3 weeks. Priceline data updates change about every 14 days, while the merchant participation currently runs longer, around 4 to 6 weeks. So please keep this in mind while you're looking for your listing. Sabre distribution of changes to Travelocity is usually 10 to 14 days, while the merchant participation runs about 2 to 4 weeks. Travelport, which is the recent combination of WorldSpan and Galileo, powers such sites like Travel Hero and eBookers. Their changes can take a little bit longer, running about 4 to 6 weeks. So now that you have a better understanding of how hotel data changes happen for your property, let's take a look at some of the new trends we see emerging. The first is confidence rating. Some sites are expanding their criteria for how properties rank to include custom factors. TravelNow was the first one to publish their guidelines for confidence rating. These factors detail that a hotel must be willing and agree to pay travel agent commissions, and that the property have a good history of paying these TA commissions in a timely manner. Guest reviews, guest comments, and proper data content are also factors considered in the confidence rating. Other sites are starting to add similar criteria to their listing requirements, and we do expect to see this trend expand in 2009. The other change we have very recently seen is the promotion of advertising on the OTAs. While this is positioned as affordable as other pay-per-click advertising, remember that the pay-per-click on Google or Yahoo takes the customer to book to your website, but pay-per-click on an OTA will take the consumer to book on the OTA link, which may be at a higher cost to you. So make sure you invest your pay-per-click dollars where you can get the highest return. While I'm talking about the OTAs, I would like to discuss images as well. Clear pictures of your property are extremely important in being booked on the OTAs. Properties that don't have good quality images are left with a generic indicator or a hotel logo.
Let's let Pam catch up here on the next screen. Let's see here. There we go.
All right, let's take a look at the orbits example above where there is not an exterior image displayed. This can turn the consumer away, leaving them to look at another property that has photos listed. The primary exterior photo is shown on the search listing of most sites, but you can also show other images such as lobby and room photos that most consumers will look at before they decide to stay. InnLink will distribute your photos to the OTAs, so please ensure that you have provided up to 10 quality photos. With enhancements soon coming to the res matrix, loading images will become an easier process. But don't wait. Go ahead, get them submitted. The sooner we receive them, the better that we can make your listing on the OTAs now. While I'm talking about images, I must also discuss the newest opportunity, which is rich media. Rich media includes virtual tours, 360-degree tours, photo flicks, photo montages, as well as a full video of your entire property. Research shows that the more you can engage the customer and show your property's unique value, the more bookings you will obtain. This applies to all properties, not just high-end properties. InnLink has been promoting rich media recently because we know it can help our hotels get a higher share of bookings in this challenging marketplace. For more information on rich media, you may contact us or your revenue manager. You can also review our rich media offering in the 9th InnTouch forum entitled Innovative Ways to Research Customers, which is on the InnLink website at www.innlink.com. So now we're starting to draw to the end of our discussion of online travel sites, or as we've called them, OTAs. Their business is changing, but they still have a valuable role in marketing your property and being found on the websites. Leisure travelers are still coming to the internet, and many of them will begin their research on the OTAs that are advertising and promoting your property. And though their growth is slowing, a lot of customers still continue to book on the OTA websites. InnLink customers, please know that as the OTA world continues to change, if we find information that directly impacts your hotel, InnLink will keep you informed through our marketing e-blast. So as I draw to a close, I'd like you to walk away with these 3 key points. Make sure you take advantage of each OTA's merchant program. Have good quality images that will highlight unique details of your location. And make sure you have a good quality booking engine with booking capabilities. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope you found this information useful and insightful.
Thank you so very much, Michelle. We did get a couple of questions that came through during the presentation. One of them was, who do we submit our images to and how?
You can submit your images to images@innlink.com, or I can get your email address and I can send you the image document, which has details about our USendIt FTP site, which does have the capability of taking those larger, higher quality photos. So I do suggest that everyone submits them through that source.
So basically, you can call your revenue manager, Michelle, direct, and we have a form that we can send out to you that gives you all the information on how to submit those images.
Exactly.
We also had another question from an audience member that said, how can we optimize our reservations using the internet? I think it's a kind of a big question, and absolutely you need to call your revenue manager or Michelle here directly, because the internet is a lot of different variables, one being the booking engine, one being the OTAs. And I think there's lots of opportunities to leverage your reservations out there on the internet. I can't see this one.
This question asked, has anyone ever seen misinformation regarding a hotel on one of the OTAs, and how do they correct that?
You can definitely contact InnLink through the customer service team. Let us know what changes need to be made, what information you're seeing is incorrect, and we will get those changes done, submitted through the correct portal, and sent out to the websites for an update.
And Michelle, wasn't there an anomaly that happened last year where they were kind of reusing some of the...
Yeah, Sabre was reusing some recycled property codes, so where a property may have had one GDS code and gone offline, that code eventually got handed over to another newer property later on. And what happened was the images and some of the data content was not being erased. So this recycled code was given out.
So then a picture of somebody else's hotel was showing up on another website.
Right, exactly. And that is something that we can get corrected. It just wasn't something that we were notified of until the mistakes actually started to happen.
Very good. Well, I would love to put a little summation and see if I got this right. So some of the key points that I heard, Michelle, that you were going over is there's two key ways or two key sources to get internet bookings out there. One being the OTAs and one being your booking engine. And what I also heard was people are researching on those OTAs, but consequently, because they're researching, they're going and looking for you at your own website and trying to find a good booking engine. So make sure you have a booking engine that works and it's successful and it has uptime so you don't lose that guest.
Exactly.
Another one that I heard is that some of those top listings, 4 of them were the OTAs, but there's a lot of other ones creeping up there, like Hilton, which says that is a property website, and that is becoming very popular. Another one that I heard was TripAdvisor. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that recently TripAdvisor was purchased by Expedia, which means it's not as unbiased as it used to be, where people just went there for advice. But now there might be a little bit of influence of Expedia on the back end. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Another one I heard was OTAs are being used for research, and that primary driver is 74%, I think you said, of all people out there are researching, and 54% of people are booking online.
Right.
So making sure you capture it online there. The other one I heard was Expedia. That was probably the best one to display you in the merchant model. Pretty independent, but they're the best one to display.
Right.
Orbitz is forcing people to go with the merchant model, much more than anybody else, but they also have much more of an international kind of presence. And then Travelocity, I heard, those are the ones where if you want to show up on all the weird sites, and it's powered by Sabre.
The little ones.
Okay, and then on Priceline, it can take the longest of all of them to show up.
It does take the longest.
So be patient, but it's 66 cents rather than the $5.95 for the transaction fee there. The other one I heard was merchant. You kind of summarized 3 key points that kind of stuck with me, and one was if you want to get better placement, if you want to be higher up on that list, you got to go probably with the merchant if you're in a saturated market. The second main point was it doesn't always have to cost you more. If you really look at the analysis of how much that reservation is going to cost you, it could be actually similar.
Exactly.
And the third really important one, which I didn't know about, was because the OTA collects the money up front, it's a guaranteed reservation, no shows, you still get paid on those. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Okay.
That is true.
The next one I heard was rates in real time. When you were talking about all those 7 to 10 weeks or 4 to 15 days, the only thing you were referring to was things like images and descriptions.
Right.
But if I want to change, but if I wanted to change a rate today, that happens instantly.
Instantly.
Okay.
It does.
So
No time delay.
All right, that's important for me to know. And the last one that I kind of wrote down a note on was your rank is often up to you. If you pay your travel agent commission fees on time, if you do the right behavior, it's going to help you move up in the ranking on that. And of course, something that has nothing to do with OTAs, but just a really important thing is images, 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 images. That, the latest statistic is if you don't have an image out there, 70% of all guests will leave your site or your listing if there's a logo or if there's not an image out there because they're buying based on seeing what they're going to get.
That's true.
All right, well, that was what I got from it, so I appreciate that. Thank you so, so much, Michelle.
If you ask questions online, we'll stay online a little bit to answer those questions. We did get a couple of more, and we'll answer those online and also ensure that your revenue manager touches base with you to answer additional questions.
So thank you for showing up for our 12th InnTouch Forum. Next time it is our anniversary, and we are going to have Kelly Harville, who is the VP of Advantis Hospitality Group, joining us. Kelly is going to talk about what his thoughts and insights on turning your property inside out, helping us remember how are we positioning our property to the guests when they walk in. So again, InnTouch forums are not supposed to be about what InnLink has to offer you. We're trying to bring in experts from the outside world to help in different areas to drive more revenue to your property beyond just what the CRS can do. So please join us on March 17th at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, same place, same thing. And so stick around if you want to hear some of these other questions that were brought up. Otherwise, thank you again for joining us. You can always go back to the knowledge forum to hear any of the previous InnTouch forums. So thank you. Question 1. Has anyone oops, we already answered that one. Will closing out InnLink close out OTAs?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will, because again, that goes back to that the rates and the availability are on a real-time feed, so as soon as you close out inventory at InnLink, it will close it at the OTAs.
Good. Packages available on OTAs. Are the packages available on OTAs?
OTAs do have package rates available. That again, that is something that we will have to load on our side, but you can also contact the various market managers that are at each website, and they can help you create specialized packages and specialized tags that they can put on your listing for you.
So help me understand this, Michelle. We have packages on our booking engine. If they build those packages for the booking engine, will those flow up to the OTAs?
Some of the packages will, but the OTAs do have specific package codes that we can load that will help a customer do, for example, like book a hotel room and a car, or a flight, hotel room, and a car. And those do have to come from the OTAs, and that is something separate that has to be loaded.
Okay, so it's a mixed bag, basically.
It is.
So call us to make sure that we get the packages you want up there.
Right.
Any other questions today, Pam?
If I have an extranet relationship with a major OTA, how do I make sure that it's communicated to InnLink if I'm a new InnLink customer?
If you have an extranet agreement, you have the ability to keep that extranet agreement or have your rates flow through InnLink. One of the advantages of having your merchant rates flow through InnLink is that you only have one entry point to update your rates and your availability. With the extranet systems, you have to manage your extranet rates and availability separately from your InnLink rates and availability. So it's really dependent upon the property and what best works for you.
So basically what I hear you saying, Michelle, is we can manage all of those merchant agreements for you inside of InnLink,
Exactly.
so you only have to manage all of your information in one place at one time.
Yes.
So contact your revenue manager, and they will help you move those contracts in-house so that you aren't having to manage 5, 6, 7 different locations.
Yes.
Okay.
And which OTA was it that you said had reused?
Sabre was reused.
Sabre was reusing the IDs.
So that was really specific to Travelocity as an OTA.
And Hotels.com.
Any of the OTAs that Sabre feeds. So a lot of those little funky websites are fed by Sabre, so a lot of them might have been displaying the wrong information. Any other questions? Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. And please do not hesitate to call your revenue manager or Michelle here directly to answer any other questions that you may have after this call. Thank you, and we will see you again in a month.
More questions. questions than we have ever gotten.
We usually don't get questions. That's why I said open it up, because normally you have it open, so I can kind of monitor it. I'm like, oh, you don't have questions open. We could be getting all kinds of them, and I don't know. So we try to manage a lot of different variables. So, I was glad you just kept going, but I was like, normally the questions are open, so that way then Pam and I can...
If I want to stay with the extranet, will that stay that way? And
Yes.
we can go back and
There's really nothing that we have to do. If they choose to stay with the extranet, we don't really need to be notified of it.
Closing inventory out was a good one.
Yeah, that's a very good one. Very well done. Good job.
My competition shows a range.
That was actually
I simply show one rate of 68. How can I show a range, and how can I sell few rooms at a lower rate to show a lot lower range? So that would be they could do opaque to have a lower rate, and opaque, or
they don't have opaque at Travelocity.
No.
oh, that's
So to show one rate Travelocity of 68, how can I show a range that I can sell a few rooms? So wouldn't that be room types? You could have
different room types.
You can do different room types. I can actually set a rate range for retail property.
Or is this...
But it won't, it will only show starting at and will display the lowest rate available in the system.
What about room types?
How can I show a range? How can I sell a few room types at a lower rate? Show a range.
Because they only have one rate on Travelocity, and they're competitive.
So if they have a single with just a queen, they want to be able to have that displayed differently than probably like a king suite.
The rate range will show the lowest rate available regardless of the room type.
Okay. So there's no way to manage around that.
Not really. Because if there's an AARP rate or something, it's going to pull the
So
lowest
Pam, that isn't
rate.
actually, it's just always going to pull,
multiple room types in.
but it's always going to pull the lowest rate available.
Yeah.
But maybe that room gets sold out, so it's going to show the next room.
Yeah, it will. It
So
will
put
do
in
that.
different room types with different rates, and it'll work its way up. Good job.
Thanks.
Good job.
That's actually easier than the practice.
There, see? That's why you practice. It's very well done.
I didn't always double or something.
No? You did good. I was going to actually recommend yesterday, but you did very well, so I did. An easy way to also get through it is to do like an interview style, where I prompt things like what we did on that one.
That was probably the best thing, though. I got through all the other pages, but I don't know that I would have been able to get through that one page without being
And the complicated one
coached
becomes
some.
easier if he starts a conversation. So a lot of times,
Yeah, that was much easier to do.
I looked
as
at
a
your page and
conversation.
I'm like, yeah, that probably would have gotten.
Yeah, everything else was, like one page, but this was that.
Well, and I think it really
Oh,
highlights that that's kind of where that's your baby right in that area. So just making it more
And I
clear.
pretty much still pointed out
You hit it on
every keynote that I had down here. I just
Nope, you didn't miss anything that I had on my notes.
So the guy that asked about ranges has logged off.
okay.
We still do have money on those questions.
I wish I wouldn't have having given out that images and InnLink email address, but I didn't know what else to say at that
No, that's fine.
Because I'm trying to shy away from that one,
But we
but it's
should
still
call
a
someone, we'll
backup.
get you a document.
So
And
there's a question, said some of this I couldn't see as small on my screen. Can I get a copy of the presentation?
that's fine. It's a big file, so, or can we print it? That's interesting. Wonder if there's a PDF. Can we load PDFs that they can print?
We can.
So maybe we can tell them we'll load it up as a PDF somewhere and they can just print it off. Because that's what they're saying, or can we print it? Why don't you ask for their email address and then we can just write down.
Get it. When I get to,
Oh, okay.
I'll get it.
You're so good. All right.
she had on?
You just did our largest InnTouch forum ever.
Wow. I kind of was glad to
68
That's awesome.
attendees.
Okay. I'm
You
glad
just
you waited till the end to tell me that, though.
Well, and I didn't want to, normally I say how many are on, and I didn't say it because I was like, she told me yesterday she had the biggest sign up ever, and I'm like, don't need to tell Michelle
And the
that.
highest percentage of attendees
Yeah.
ever.
Wow.
Good job.
Yay.
There you go.
Okay.
Now you hold the record. Let's see who can get it next.
Yeah.
We keep
Now
passing
it's
on the record.
challenge.
Sissy had the last record when she
Yep.
did.
Yeah, nobody wants to come to
Selling your
PCI
hotel
clients,
online.
you know. No, I think it was good. It had a lot of good information. The slides were actually they stand alone very well, too, which is very good.
Yeah.
So is that all the questions? Or is there still more
Yeah,
on there?
well, the last one is the one about the competition, but he's already logged off, so he can't answer. I will have to follow up with him, and it'll take about 2 hours before it will process and export report, and then you'll get a list of all the emails of people that attended, and
That way then
and then the
you
questions.
can call you. That way then you know that they attended and you can kind of verify.
What question they had. Okay. Thank you, Pam, for all your help. I couldn't have done that without your coaching.